Out of our series Inheritance, Melanie Butler penetrates the ramparts surrounding the ancient Sri Lankan town of Galle and meets the last three members of the town's Dutch burgher population, holding the fort.
The history of colonial Ceylon is easy to remember. 3 European invasions, the Portuguese, the Dutch and the British. The Portuguese brought Jesuits and took away gems. With the Dutch, it was their Reformed church in exchange for spices. The British, inevitably, introduced cricket and planted tea. To make things even easier for the student of history, each power stayed for 150 years, and all of them came to Galle, a strategic harbour at the southwest corner of the island. In 1649, when the Dutch sailed in, they found a fort, with seemingly impregnable ramparts and bastions jutting out into the Indian Ocean. In 1987, the ramparts are still there, and Galle still has a garrison. For almost 3 centuries, well into the time of the British, Galle Fort remained a Dutch town. The old Dutch barracks is a tall, white building with arches and a cool veranda. It is now the new Oriental Hotel. At the hotel reception desk, the proprietress is making a long-distance call.
Hello? Hello? There's no answer. We're trying to connect.
Mrs. Nesta Bro here is 82. She was born in Galle to parents of Dutch descent. Her family has lived in the fort for over 200 years.
Hello? Hello, is that you, Ross? Oh, hello, Jill. How are you? I'm fine. Listen, is it true about this postal strike in Australia? You've had no strike in Perth?
Nesta Bro here is the only member of her family left in Galle. She is descended from the employees of the Dutch East India Company, the Verenigde Oostindische Compagnie, or VOC for short. The employees were by no means all from Holland. They were opportunists and adventurers from all over Europe who decided to try their luck by settling on the edge of the known world. But their descendants boast of their Dutchness and call themselves the Dutch Burghers of Sri Lanka. Until the 1950s, the Burghers were a force on the island. Doctors, lawyers, civil servants. Then, shortly after independence, they began to leave in their thousands. Some to Europe, others to North America, 40,000 to Australia. Most of them were driven away by the wave of Sinhalese nationalism which swept the island in the mid-50s.
Well, I'm fine, and everything's great. I just wondered how you were, because we heard that Australia, there was a big strike on.
Of Mrs. Bro here's own children, one lives in Lancashire. The other, a daughter, married a Dutchman. She was tragically killed in a car accident, and a brass plate in her memory hangs on the wall of the old Dutch church next to the hotel.
Dutch Reformed Church. There's only about 2 or 3 people who go to this church.
Now, we're just 4 or 5, I think. That's why I've got Veronica's plate, but it needs polishing, so I brought some brass polish.
The floors and walls of the church are covered with the names of the Dutch and Burgher dead. The church itself, with its gables and pews, would not be out of place in rural Holland.
Sacred to the memory of Angelo Frederick Ephraim, who departed this life on the 6th day of November, 1868, aged 32 years, 7 months, and 21 days. Thy will, O Lord, be done. Rather nice words.
When did the Burghers stop speaking Dutch and start speaking English? Did your
Soon after the British took over, because of the churches. You see, the churches and all the schools were closed down. Dutch schools were closed, and the British moved in, and the churches, all important buildings. But my grandmother used to speak quite a lot of Dutch, and of course now my grandchildren, because my daughter married a Dutch boy in Holland. And
you had the Dutch king visit you, didn't you?
yes, Prince Klaus, the Queen's husband. Oh, he was a dear. He really was a nice man.
They came to visit the Dutch town, did they?
Yes, yes. And also, Holland had put in so much money, the church to be redone. And he came just to see that it was put in, because it was in a terrible state of repair.
It looks all right now.
It looks all right now, yes. But the old man was telling me that the gates need repairing, and would I do something about it?
You feel sort of responsible for Gaul?
Well, yes, you know, because I think I'm the only one here. I am the only Dutch burgher born in Gaul, still living here.
But Nesta Brohier is not the only Dutch burgher in Gaul. A few yards down the main street, opposite the English church, stands the crumbling YWCA.
Housewives, here is a chance for you to learn operating your pressure cooker. There will be a demonstration of biryani and water lapang by Maharaja Organization Limited on the 27th night, Saturday, at 10 a.m. at the YWCA.
A small shop just inside the entrance is run by a woman with a good Dutch name, Mrs. Bulgens.
I sell them there and then we take commission. If we sell a sari for 50 rupees, we take 5 rupees. Then out of that 5 rupees, half goes to the wife and half goes to me. But I have hardly any things to put. Sometimes I make a little sweets only.
And then there is Miss Grace Bartholomew's. Or should it be Bartholomeus?
Oh, can we find Gracie? Miss Gracie? Oh, hello, Lorna. Is Gracie here? Downstairs. Is there any way you can get hold of her?
Miss Gracie lives in a room behind the YWCA. The passage through the building to the backyard is dark, with bats hanging from the ceiling.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Gracie? Gracie?
Miss Gracie teaches English elocution to the children of Muslim gem merchants and Sinhalese villagers. In a small room off the backyard, she coaches her pupils for graded exams. The exams are set by the Wendy Watmore Academy of Speech and Drama.
The End by A. Milne. When I was one, I had just begun. When I was two, I was nearly new. When I was three, I was not much more. Hardly me. When I was one,
I must show you the certificates that we have. These are some of the children who hadn't come. Absentee. These are some old ones by the Wendy Watmore. The Wendy Watmore Academy of Speech and Drama, founded in 1940. First steps in speech with honours. Section A, the poem. Rather charmingly spoken, but she gazed around while reciting in an abstracted manner. Next one, Curly Locks was the poem. Nursery rhyme. Same remarks as above. An appealing little girl who has made a good start in the subject should do well as she gains experience. They give little cards so that I know what their faults are. No?
You live in that little house over there?
One room which I've got screened off and made my bedroom and a dining room cum sitting room.
Do you live by yourself?
I am that little girl. Her mother died a couple of months ago and she gave over to me. Try to teach a little English also.
Do you have any pets?
My God. 4 dogs, 4 cats. And I feed anybody. On the road, there are 2 cats who come from the road. We collect all the banana skins out for the goats.
When the British came to Gaul, the Burghers abandoned the Dutch Reformed Church and moved down the road to the Anglican Church of All Saints. It's the sort of Victorian Gothic pile you might find in any English town. It became the centre of Burgher life in Gaul, and the Burgher women still worship there. Miss Gracie is the organist, just as her father was before her.
My father came on some job, I can't remember, I was 4 years old. I remember Mommy saying that 4 months after he got his heart attack at this organ and next day he died. He was at this organ, he had a big organ. And Mommy was 35 and he was 39 when he got the heart attack. I was 4. And then Daddy was organist, I never imagined that I would become organist. We had a beautiful choir then, all singing the different parts in harmony. Now there is nobody. Only 2 people in the choir now. I play one time and they sing another time. Sometimes I finish the hymn and they're still on the last line.
And then Mrs. Words into
She drags a little bit, so I go on quick time.
This is one of the hymns that Mrs. Brohier chose for her wedding. She was married in this church in 1929.
My whole wedding was in pink, and we had bamboo arches studded with pink lotuses. My dress was pink, my headdress, the veil, the bouquet was pink roses, my stockings, my shoes, everything I could think of was pink. The cake was in pink, hymn sheets were in pink, and you'd never believe this, but I just had to do this. My night was the Charmer's pink nightie. And so I went to the shop and I said, could you please find some pink material for pajamas for my husband? And he was furious when he suddenly find he had to wear pink pajamas to go to bed in. But it was rather pretty. My dress came from Paris. In those days, dresses didn't come from Paris.
4 years ago, another Burgher girl was married at All Saints. Her name was Cherilyn Bulgens. Her mother, who runs the shop at the YWCA, was delighted, especially because the bridegroom was Dutch.
That's a long story. I don't know how I'm to express it. It's like a fairy story. There was a gentleman, and he happened to come to Gaul. Then he just popped into my shop. He bought some cards, some Christmas cards of this church. And so it happened that we became very pally.
Once upon a time, a Dutch traveller took home to Holland a picture of a young Burgher girl. A handsome young Dutchman saw the picture and crossed the seas to Sri Lanka to find her. For 10 days, he went to her mother's house and breakfasted there.
She's coming to him, Mommy, there, Mommy, Alex said that he loves me. So I asked, what did you tell him? She's a very timid girl, you see, very soft-hearted in every way. And then he gave a call to his parents in Holland.
10 days after they first met, they were married at All Saints Church in Gaul.
To church at 4:30, 4 o'clock in the evening on the Saturday. Then 18th he flew off. Married on the 15th, 18th he flew off. Then after 1 month, she flew.
The Gaul Burghers hold less of the fort than they used to. They now patrol from the Y past the churches and down to the new Oriental Hotel. Inside the dining room, birds swoop from the high beams, and the planters' chairs have a special hole for your glass of local gin. It's here that Nesta Brohier keeps her collection of Dutch relics.
This is a very old map of Gaul. I had some other older maps, which I sent my daughter. But you see, it's a very, very old Dutch map of Gaul. And these old plates. I showed you the pieces. We kept lots of them. We had basins and buckets full of old Dutch crockery. A lot of it dealt Delft, but it came from Holland, and VOC, you can see some of the VOC mark on some of them. We've had lots of events here, like the Durang group. I don't know whether you ever saw it, but it was a video that they made when they were here. That was in this room. And then they had a snake charmer and the smoke. They did it all here. They were lots of fun.
Later, in her garden, Nesta talks about her childhood. She was kept away from the Muslims and Sinhalese and fed on stories passed down through the family.
My grandfather used to tell me stories about the ships used to come in here, and he said he remembered watching the women get off the ships who called here for water. They used to walk on the ramparts with their mantillas, taking the air. They used to get back onto the ship again when it sailed.
You had Dutch surnames, but you didn't have Dutch names. What Dutch things did the Burghers keep?
Well, I think a lot of the furniture was Dutch. Also food, very much the food. We have a Dutch bread, which we still have. And I remember we always had on Christmas morning was a Dutch brooder, which is a Dutch bread, and puffertjes.
What are puffertjes?
They're little, they still have them in Holland, and they're little round balls, and you eat them with powdered sugar. Delicious.
Did you import anything from Holland? Was anything
Well, the cheeses, the Edam cheese was a great favourite with the brooder on Christmas morning. We always found it on the table. It's funny how later on in life we kept some of the Dutch traditions, and yet we were so British because by then we were brought up British.
Pudding and blackberry pie. Peter likes the pudding, but Polly likes the pie. Which one do you like? Oh, my. I like roly-poly pudding and blackberry pie.
When the Burghers emigrated to Australia in the 1950s, they were required to prove that they had 80% European blood. Not as hard as you might think. The Burghers married mostly amongst themselves, and through the centuries they have kept meticulous records of every birth, marriage and death. So, when Miss Gracie and her mother decided to follow their family to Australia, they simply took out their family tree.
Daniel Bartholomew's, married 1st January 1760, Helena Darius, and had by her Abraham Everett Bartholomew's. Abraham Everett Bartholomew's married 26/12/1800, Jacoba Cornelia Leanders.
Miss Gracie's hopes for immigration faded when the uncle who was to be her sponsor suddenly died. The family tree went back into the cupboard.
Melchizedek Bartholomew and Caroline Frances Wootler, and had by her Grace Beatrice Bartholomew.
And that's you?
Yeah.
Were you the only child?
Yeah. The only one.
It's very confusing, your genealogy, because your mother and your father had so much to say.
Same, they were second cousins or something. That's right. Even I was puzzled reading it. I don't know. I was looking back to see. I think it was a different brother, no? Each time.
So you lived most of your life in Gaul?
Yeah. So I'm like a Galilean.
Galilean?
So from Gaul, I said I'm like a Galilean. From Gaul. But it's, I'm used to it now. It's quiet and peaceful, and I have my work, you know, I enjoy it. When
you didn't have the girl, you used to go to the hotel for supper, didn't you?
No, I go every night. Normally I'm there every night because Nesta is alone, she asks me. And invariably every night Nesta sends a message for me. She has been very kind to me and helpful, so. As she says, though we meet every day, we have something to talk about. It's very hot.
Delicious soup.
Dinner at the new Oriental Hotel. A handful of residents, a line of waiters in white jackets, sarongs and bare feet. The head waiter, Wilson, serves the food. Soup with Melba toast, steak and kidney pie and smashed potatoes. The conversation turns to Nesta's late husband and the famous pink wedding when the bridegroom had had too much to drink.
One look at my husband and he just couldn't bear it. He quickly sent for a driver and said, now drive them on their honeymoon. And I told him my dress came from Paris, this pink dress. And I had my going away dress too.
Pink?
No, it was sort of cherry colour with funny combination, sort of beige or biscuit and cherry. Just admiring my clothes, thinking, well, at least I can see what beautiful things I'm wearing. And when we got to Tangor, I woke him, I nudged him and woke him and I said, Hal, look, we're here now. He said, yes, there's a dance on in Galle tonight, should we go back? And I thought, I don't think any bride has ever had that answer before.
Wilson, me fan ikke daarna. Put this fan on one. Ikke te daarna.
Now, Wilson, what have you got for dessert? What have you got?
We have a pancake.
Oh, yes,
A pancake dinner.
That's,
At the end of the day, the garrison stands down, and Mrs. Bulgens writes a letter to her daughter in Holland. She's been to visit her daughter. She stayed for 2 months and learnt 3 words of Dutch.
Slapen niet sleep. And they had the pancakes. For pancakes, they say pannenkoekers. Am I right? Pannenkoekers. Then for the cold, couch. Only those 3 words I can remember.
well, I always say I'm what the Dutch left behind. But I was brought up in the British era, and I think British, I think English, and I feel I'm just 101% British.
When I was 1, I had just begun. When I was 2, I was nearly new. When I was 3, I was not more.
I'd say Dutch burger. Dutch burger from Sri Lanka. I think I'll say that.
Holding the fort were Gracie Bartholomew's, Nesta Brohier and Beatrice Bulgens. The programme was written and presented by Melanie Butler, and the producer was Nigel Asherson.